We definitely have to preserve that area, for as much as we can because it's history. I heard a good friend, Winston Wilmo, say that Beatties Ford is like similar to like Harlem, like it's our Harlem Renaissance. You know what I mean? And I felt that when he said that. And I'm not from Charlotte. He's from Charlotte, but going to that school, living on campus 4 years, being in that area, I ride past that area almost twice a month, and it's like, wow, like this is my school. This became my home away from home because growing up in D.C., Georgia Ave was Howard, and living near Howard was like, cool, I'm going to go to HBCU one day, and Smith became my Howard, my Georgia Ave. And that's changing, Sometimes change is good, but for us, we want to connect to something. And we don't want to be pushed out. And unfortunately, that's what's happening in our own community.
This was the Mecca. This was Black Wall Street. This was it a second time in Charlotte after the loss of Brooklyn.
So many of your churches on Beattiesville Road came out of Brooklyn, particularly Friendship Baptist Church. Emmanuel Church came out of there. The House of Prayer came out of Brooklyn. The Mother House of Prayer was on McDowell Street.
I remember.
So all of that stuff came out. So just keep in mind that they not only displaced people in their homes and their businesses, but they also tore out a lot, 19 churches, African American churches.
Historic Washington Heights was established in 1910, and it's named in honor of Booker T. Washington. Also, Washington Heights is one of those streetcar suburban neighborhood built especially for African Americans, and probably one of the only streetcar suburban neighborhoods that you will find in the United States.
It's an African American neighborhood, particularly in the second half of the 20th century and the beginnings of the 21st. With some very strong institutional anchors. Johnson C. Smith University, founded right after the Civil War by the Presbyterian Church to train preachers and teachers, to train leaders among the newly freed population, has been a really strong beacon.
Johnson C. Smith was the community. It was the nucleus of the community, and the community grew around it. And it was kind of the draw and kind of the springboard for other things. So, Johnson C. Smith University was key and known, of course, my family, going to the Presbyterian Church. The Presbyterian is huge, has always been huge in Charlotte, and of course that was where our Presbyterian ministers were trained.
Well, for one thing, it was outside of the center city, and it was an area that was not where the most well-to-do white people were paying attention. most well-to-do white people had self-segregated themselves towards Southeast Charlotte, and they reinforced that segregation in so many ways. If you come up towards campus, you go from the bustling center city under an I-77, Interstate 77 bridge, into an area that's seeing a lot of disinvestment, old industrial buildings, vacant lots, new Bojangles restaurant, that's good. But those highways were used as barriers, as moats between our part of town, the decision makers, Center City, and their part of town. And that meant here, the West End.
There are efforts along the way to try to destabilize a lot of the African American communities. You can call it gentrification, but I always say I'm going to hold on to my faith in God's plan for these rich neighborhoods. We've brought them a long way through, the fakeness of urban renewal, of displacing people. We have seen the highways come through our neighborhoods, and we've still held on. I remember just thinking back to Douglas Street, another significant street in our neighborhood, how the highway just came through and just cut that off, and constantly destabilizing. Now a lot of African American younger individuals are moving back into the neighborhood and picking up the pieces to move these neighborhoods forward. What I do not like to see some of the unhealthy looking houses that's being thrown up. And you have to watch how people use your edges of your community. I noticed that we have, near Johnson C. Smith, about 2 or 3 monstrosities going up. These are horrible houses. They have no place in the community, and I think that eventually they will get the message that that's an unwelcome home.
You look around Beatties Road, you look around 5 Points, like you can ride around campus and just see those homes right outside of the gate. You're like, wow. And I always tell my friends, and I joke with my wife, I'm like, man, when I first got here, nobody was looking to buy these homes in 01, 02. And now look at these probably multi-million-dollar homes or close to $1 million homes right next to this, HBCU. And what's funny, me and my friends were just talking 2 weekends ago, people are starting to complain about loud music at night. But it's like, you live right next to a college. You know what I mean? Would you be complaining about the same things if you live next to Appalachian State or Duke or Carolina? I mean, I'm not trying to be funny, but it's like you live right across the street from a college.
No, I do not fear nor worry about gentrification, because I think that we have a better solution, a better way of addressing that.